Hola, welcome back to my channel. My name is Yaneli, and today I'm going to be talking about two collections from ilnp. First and foremost, these collections were sent to me as gifted PR. I'm not obligated to talk about it, post about it, create content, or do anything with it, but I do want to showcase it here with you all to see if it's something you're interested in. I know it's late. Okay, I'm sorry. So thank you ilnp for sending this over my way. Now, the first collection is the brunch collection, and that consists of 4 cremes. And then the second collection is the playground collection, and that consists of very primary color heavy polishes. It is kind of mixed formula. We have a magnetic, we have some shimmers, we have some metallic-y looking polishes. And I'm sure you know the gist, but ilnp is not a limited edition brand, and also a lot of other stuff is here to stay. So without further ado, let's get into swatches. Up first we have pistachio, and this is a nice Shrek green. No, it's a nice somewhat Shrek green, you know. Shrek is love. Shrek is life. Why did I transfer to the... How did this happen? I blame the color. Anyway, it's a creme formula, and ilnp has really good creme formulas in my opinion, and this one's no exception. It self-leveled up nicely, it applies nicely, and it was very manageable and all that stuff. It even covered the lint that I accidentally had on the first coat with the second coat, so coverage is very much there. I feel like I could have gotten away with it in one coat, but due diligence says do too. Removal wise, it's a creme. You can easily scrub it off if you really want. I preferably use a peel-off base coat because I'd rather not deal with the mess, and because it dries down smooth, I only need 1 coat of top coat. Moving on to short stack, this is a creamy neutral tan color, and this is the color I like my coffee to be. If you know, you know. Another creme, another great application, another great coverage. So with the coverage and self-leveling, I only needed 2 coats to have full coverage, honestly. And then when I'm showcasing the polished coatings, there is a little dot of sorts on the left side. That was me trying to bust a bubble, but she lingered on, okay? It stood its ground, so it's there. But that was not in lieu of the polish. I think I just mess with it too much. Just like pistachio, this one dries down smooth, removal should be easy, and something else that I noted with these cremes is that they tend to dry down darker than how they apply. Next up we have Ube, and this is a dusty lavender creme. Now for me, Ube is a more powerful and in-your-face rich purple. This one's giving more of an Ube latte that kind of had a lot of milk going on. I love Ube though. I love Ube flavored things, and of course, I like me my dusty purples, and this is no exception. Like the others, this performed extremely well. Great self-leveling formula, amazing coverage, and somehow, some way, lint ends up being trapped on my top coat. So ignore the lint. It is not the fault of the polish. It is me in my environment. And this one's no exception that it also dries down much darker than when it's applied. Removal should be very easy as you can scrub it off. Moving on to patisserie. This is a corally, almost raw salmon-like shade, maybe a lighter shade of terracotta color. You know, I could go on. Anyways, this one was a little sheer than the other 3 cremes, but it still gave really good coverage, and I got full coverage in 2 coats, just like the others. Self-leveling is still phenomenal throughout all of these cremes, and this one's no exception. So removal, just like the others, very easy. You can scrub it off and everything. Now, something with these creme polishes is if I try to compare it next to Holo Taco cremes, I would say Holo Tacos have a higher viscosity. This one's kind of like very, very easy to work with. Where Holo Taco sometimes gives me like cakiness type of vibe, these did not feel that way to me. Moving on over to the playground collection, I have here building blocks, and this is a beigey neutral base with colorful metallic flakes that range in the primary colors plus green. Unfortunately, this shade has the color range of poultry and Dorito seasoning in the mix. Formula wise, this is a creamy like polish, but it's not creamy in the sense that it's a creme. It does allow some puddling effect to happen with the flakes in the mix here. However, it's almost a little too dense. In terms of self-leveling, this self-leveled out beautifully. It does have some texture when it dries down, but one coat of top coat was enough to give me a smooth, even finish. Removal wise, I use peely base, however, you could elect to scrub it or soak it off. Next up we have Peekaboo, and this is a true yellow on the bottle, jelly base with yellow flakes. ilnp says that the flakes are iridescent, however, I found that to see any shiftiness of it, I have to be at very extreme angles, and then mayhaps I can see a shift of green and maybe some orange tones going on, but I kind of have to fight for it, and I don't want that. Formulation of this, since it is a jelly, it required 3 coats for me to be palatable. Speaking of palatable, this does not remind anyone of egg drop soup like the yellow flakes are. The egg ribbons and then the base is like the base of the soup, you know, with the turmeric for coloring and whatever. Anyways, I really enjoy this yellow. I think it's the flakes that are kind of throwing me off. I don't like the visual texture that it adds to it, I'm sad to say. But otherwise, formula, really great. Self-leveling is nice. If you don't care about visible nail line, you can do 2 coats and be on your merry way. Texture wise with the flakes, non-existent honestly, so it dries down smoothly, and removal should be relatively easy, but I don't want to fight the flakes, so I did a peel off base coat. Next up we have Recess, and I categorize this as a red curly base with orange, yellow, and some pink iridescent flakes. Now the red base of this polish is a little bit on the pink leaning side, so not something that I enjoy myself. Now technically it's described as a jelly, but because of the high coverage it provided on the second coat, I felt like it played more like a curly versus a jelly polish. Overall, formula wise, this is another exceptional, self-leveling, smooth, easy polish to work with. The flakes don't dry textured, so I only need 1 coat of top coat for a smooth even finish. And then removal wise, really dependent onto you, like do you want to fight with the flakes or not. I use peely, so for me removal was very, very easy. Next up we have Caterpillar, and this is a lovely deep green jelly with some hollow glitter in the mix. Now this one, I love it. I love the shade of green. So because it is a jelly polish, I did go in with 3 coats because if I really examine my nail, I could see some dark patches on the second coat and even on the third coat, but like it's much less noticeable for me on the third coat. With the third coat, the green deepens more and you get more of this like multi-dimensional look. I love it. This would be a perfect holiday green, perfect St. Patrick's green, a perfect spring green, a perfect summer green. It's a green for everyone. It's a green for me. Formula wise, self-leveling is out of this world. Application for it, very, very easy to work with. It was honestly a pleasure to have this polish on my nail. That's how much I like it. Otherwise, it dries down smooth, so I only needed 1 coat of top coat. And removal wise, I could see the hollows kind of fighting, but I work with peely, so for me it was relatively easy. Next up we have Adrian, and this is a nice deep blue base with a light blue magnetic pole. Now unmagnetized, this gave incredible coverage, even on the first coat honestly, and I only needed 2 coats for full coverage. This is a very easy to work with polish. Self-leveling is very nice. Removal of it, I could see the blue particles being a hassle, so again I used peely, so for me it was relatively easy. Within the magnetic particles, you can see some brush strokiness if you elect to wear this polish unmagnetized. However, when you magnetize it in either cat eye or velvet or whichever style, Pastinelli did not exceed to do the glass bead effect. So we get velvet and cat eye. I predominantly see it in the cat eye effect, that strokiness of sorts, but not so much in the velvet effect. Next up we have Scribbles, and this is a sky blue creamy polish with blue metallic flakes and a pinch of scattered hollow pigment going throughout. This is blue from Blue's Clues in a bottle. I said what I said. And like I think the name Scribbles is kind of cute too, because like it kind of reminds me of Mail Time when Steve would draw something on their notepad. I think that's when it did it. It's been a while, y'all. Anyway, this had very great buildup. 2 coats gave me good coverage. However, I did see some patchiness near the left side of my nail, so I went in with a 3rd coat and that one took care of it. Now this is kind of a bright blue in my opinion. I should have tested it for UV reactions, but yeah, passionelli didn't think twice. So anyway, I would say this one in terms of formula acted the most creme-like. I kind of wish it didn't, in a sense. I wish it wasn't so creamy because I would like to have seen more of that puddling or multi-dimensionalness that we could get with the metallic flakes. Because of the metallic flakes, it does have a slight texture to it. However, one coat of top coat took care of that and smoothed things out for me. Removal wise, I recommend soaking it off or peel off base. I just feel like the holo and the flakes might kind of fight you, you know, so make it easier on yourself. Moving on to comparisons, for pistachio, I have here mooncat's, dab of newt, unmagnetized, and fauves among the foliage. I feel like dab of newt has a similar colorway to pistachio, but of course formulation wise very different. Among the foliage is a much brighter lime green of sorts, so not quite. Then I thought of comparing it to some similar-ish cremes that I have, and here is Holo Taco's Matcha Maker and Holo Taco's here for the Payday. So it's more yellow undertone for sure when pistachio is compared to these two. I thought that maybe here for the Payday might be close-ish, but like I underestimated how chartreuse-ish pistachio leans. So very unique to my collection so far. This one's more of a shiggles kind of thing. I kind of knew already they weren't gonna be close, but I have here Mooncat's The Stranger and ilnp's Treetop. I don't have to say much. You can see it. Now for short stack comparisons, I have here Holo Taco's See You Later Chai and ilnp's Building Blocks, which is part of the Playgrounds collection. A See You Later Chai is actually much warmer leaning than short stack, but I would categorize them in the same like color range family. It's just how much warmth do you want at this point. So then I thought of comparing it next to ilnp's Woven and ilnp's Mushrooms. I swear on the bottle these were much lighter, but clearly they are not. They make a great Skittle though. I really enjoy how these look together for potential like gradient effect or wearing it out as a Skittle. Now for ube, this is my domain expansion here. I kind of have a lot of purples going on. So for ube, first up, I thought of comparing it next to Crack Polish's Taro Milk Tea and ilnp Mittens. Taro Milk Tea is a jelly, so formulation wise already very different, but color wise, Taro Milk Tea has a deeper purple of sorts, whereas ube is more of that like gray muted type of purple. Mittens is a little bit too pink leaning, but honestly I feel like ube and Mittens kind of make a cute little color pair. So then I thought of comparing it next to Holo Taco's Wild Child and Holo Taco's Camera Shy, just to get more of that muted purple of sorts, but Wild Child has a better color payout. It's more contrasty compared to ube. And then Camera Shy, completely different formula, but like also the base purple is much darker. So then I have here Holo Taco's Serial Killer and Holo Taco's Laven-duh. Now these are much lighter in shade compared to ube. So for patisserie, I have here ilnp's Rosalie and Ella and Mila Sunkissed. I would say Ella and Mila could be like cousins to patisserie. It's just more saturated and vibrant compared to how slightly muted patisserie is. And then Rosalie, I feel like it is in the same color family, but it's a jelly first and foremost, and the color of it is more on wanting to be a brick red type of color. It's not so much like corally for sure. And then I thought of comparing it next to Crack Polish's Toasty Drip and Holo Taco's Bite My Peach. Toasty Drip is either a crelly or jelly, so formulation wise already different, but also color wise Toasty Drip is on the much richer end. And then Bite My Peach, it is technically a coral shade, but again, the shade or the range of like the color is much deeper. And of course, formulation wise, do you see the holo that patisserie does not have? So then I decided to shift gears to lean more into the orangey like pastels of sorts. So I have here Holo Taco's Rest in Peach and Holo Taco's One Melon Followers. I would say One Melon Followers is very, very close to it. It's just a matter of like saturation, I guess. One melon followers, and I don't know if mine faded because I had it since forever, and it definitely looks paler compared to patisserie, right? But it's very close to it in my opinion. So again, do you want something more saturated or not? And then Rest in Peach, it is a pastel orange, but when paired here, it honestly looks like a neutral nude. So not quite. Then moving on to the playground comparisons. Up first for building blocks, I have here ilnp undercovers and ilnp bare. Undercovers is more of an off-white creme polish, so not quite close to building blocks. And then bare has more of a brownie pinky undertone, so like very different from building blocks. And this is what I mean, that maybe we should have done an off-white instead of this two skin tone related color. Now we've seen this comparison before, but I just wanted to showcase it with building blocks in the center. And I have here ilnp short stack and holo taco see you later chai. Again, does not change the fact that they are nowhere near each other. So then for peekaboo, I thought of comparing it next to starrely's flicker and holo taco's boom toasted. Flicker and boom toasted are more wanting to be gold-ish and not so much of a true yellow, whereas peekaboo is a very true yellow polish, so not quite. So then I thought of comparing it next to Mooncat's Mariah's Melody and Crack Polish's It's Corn. Peekaboo is that primary yellow range, so these two look pale in comparison, quite literally. I really thought It's Corn was gonna be up there with Peekaboo, but it's not that vibrant as I remember it. And then I have here ilnp Sunburst, and again, in memory, I thought maybe it could be on par with Peekaboo, but Sunburst has more of this like frosted metal vibe going on, whereas Peekaboo is again predominantly that yellow, like that vibrant, vivid yellow. For Reese's, I have here Mooncat's Forces of Evil and Holo Taco's Big Reef Energy. Now, both Mooncat and Holo Taco are considered jellies, and they act like true jellies in my opinion, whereas ilnp's Reese's is more on the curly base, allowing for higher coverage. And with that, I feel like the flakes are very different amongst the three of them. Like you can kind of tell visually here that ilnp's Reese's is more of like an underglow glow, whereas the other two have more of a noted shift to it as I wiggle the swatch sticks around. And then the shade of red is also different. I would say Forces of Evil and Big Reef Energy lean more pinky reds, whereas Reese's here honestly looks more like a true red. So then I thought of comparing it to Holo Taco's Ruby Madly Deeply and ilnp's Secret Santa. I would say that the red aligns more with the other two for sure, but formulation wise, very different, right? And then here Reese's actually looks not paler, but like less true red than how it did in the previous comparisons, if that makes sense. And then I thought of comparing it next to People of Color's Rodeo Drive and ilnp's Cherry. Now, Rodeo Drive is more like a blue leaning red for me, and I love it. I love the formula of Rodeo Drive so fucking much. Anyway, Cherry, I feel and maybe wouldn't be surprised if the base red for Reese's is cherry, because they look very similar and all it needs is some flakes on top. But like scrutinizing this to the full extent that I can see that cherry is a little bit darker red than what Reese's is. I'm just saying, if you have cherry and you have a flaky topper, you could probably do a sandwich of sorts. Moving on to Caterpillar, I have here ilnp's Noelle and Mooncat's Tyrannosaurus Hex. Noelle is more teal leaning, so I would immediately cross that off to compare with Caterpillar, but Tyrannosaurus Hex is kind of close-ish. Caterpillar is a jelly base, and the green of it almost seems to have more of a yellow undertone here compared to Tyrannosaurus Hex. And then I thought of comparing it next to Holo Taco's Everything is Pine and Holo Taco's Stop bugging. Honestly, with caterpillar in the center, stop bugging. It looks low-key teal-ish here. Like it doesn't look like a true green as I remember it. And then everything is pine. It has more of a bluer or cooler undertone going on as well. So not quite, but these are all very pretty to look at. So then I thought of comparing it next to my other favorite holo green, and this is Holo Taco's Green Taffy. And yeah, I think it's the jelly aspect of caterpillar that's giving it more of that like plumpy green look and allows us to see the green better. And of course the holo is on the scattered end versus compact in the linear format. But yeah, I would say caterpillar is very unique to my current greens. So for Adrian, I have here Funny Business, Can Everyone See My Screen, and Holo Taco's Sky Lounge. I'm showing Adrian unmagnetized here, and I would say this is the darker shade of these two. It would make a great Skittle gradient if you really wanted to, so not quite. So then I wanted to showcase it next to other blue magnetics. I have here Mooncat's Bloodbender unmagnetized and Island Peace Ritual unmagnetized. In this format, you can kind of see the difference clear as day. And honestly, same thing in the cat eye effect. Like Adrian is such a rich, lovely blue. And then Ritual has more like a blackened base of sorts with an off blue pole, and Bloodbender has that really deep red base, and then the magnetic pole is blue but like not similar to Adrian, so not quite. So moving on to Scribbles, I have here Cracked Polishes Out of the Blue and Mooncat's Flying Nimbus in the Cold State. So Out of the Blue is a crelly, and it does perform rather differently than Scribbles. Scribbles is more creamy leaning. Color wise, neither of the two really compare to Scribbles. Scribbles' blue is very vibrant, very vivid compared to these two that are seeming a little muted compared to it. So then I thought of comparing it next to my more vibrant blues, and here I have Holo Taco Scientific and Island P Oasis. I think if I were to mix Scientific and Oasis together, maybe I can get really close to Scribbles, but like Scribbles is so different. Like Scientific looks muted here. Now this is another creme that I've had for forever that I purchased a long time ago, so who can say if it faded, honestly. But Oasis here has more of a milky undertone compared to Scribbles. Like Scribbles is so vivid. It's very unique to me. And that concludes my swatch comparison portion of this video. Overall thoughts on both collections. They're very fun, they're very playful objectively and everything like that, you know, good. Individually, as shades, to me personally, I really only enjoyed the greens of both collections. Pistachio in the Brunch collection and Caterpillar in the Playgrounds collection. The other colors in the Brunch collection, like Uve is there for me. I am a big fan of dusty purples and muted purples and stuff like that. So if I was starting out fresh, I probably would have added to cart, but because of my current collection, it's not something that's like that enticing, but it definitely still fills in that gap of like, I don't have an exact like this. And then short stack and patisserie, short stack, it's giving like I picked my wrong foundation for some reason. And because of that uneasiness that I picked my wrong foundation, I don't really care for it. I don't know. I could definitely see it playing well in nail art, but wearing it on its own, yeah, I can't imagine wanting to wear short stack or patisserie. Now for the Playground collection, I didn't care for Risa's. Risa's is a pinky red. I don't vibe with those, but is it pretty? Yes, I can admire how pretty it is. I can also admire how pretty Peekaboo is. However, I don't like the flakies aspect of Peekaboo. The shade of yellow is also something that's kind of like teetering for me, and like I dislike it or I like it, you know. For Adrian, I just wish it was more contrasty in terms of like the magnetic pole and then the base color. Building blocks, they should have chosen a different base color. I feel like having this somewhat beigey, pinky beigey base. Raw chicken with Dorito seasoning, anyone? Like, come on. If it was maybe a nice soft white crelly or jelly even, it would be more whimsy, more fun, more like childhood-like. Would it look like a jawbreaker? Yeah. When I think of jawbreakers, I think of Ed and Eddie though, so that's my extent. For Scribble, I really like it objectively again. It's very fun. It's a fun blue and then a darker blue flakes. It's giving Blue's Clues. It's giving childhood. I get it. But when I applied it, it was not extremely, it was vibrant. It was a little too vibrant for my liking. If it was a little desaturated, maybe I would jive with it better, but yeah. Did you grab any of these since these have been out for a little bit? Are you interested in grabbing some? If you haven't pulled the trigger yet, let me know down below and we can talk about it. And with that, thank you so much for watching, hanging out with me. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and all that jazz, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!